Boker Tov. We're going to start our service on page 46 of our Siddurim. Page 46 of our Siddurim with Hine Matov. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Page 48 of our Siddurim, we join together from Modeh Ani. Modeh Ani Lifanecha Melech Chai V'Kayam Shechazarta B'Nishpati V'Chemla Rabba Emunatecha. Page 48 of our Siddurim, we join together in English. Blessed are you, O eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who's made our bodies with wisdom, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous fashioner and sustainer of life, source of our health and our strength, we give you thanks and praise. Blessed are you, O eternal, who heals all flesh and does wonders. Page 49. The soul that you've given me, O God, is a pure one. You've created it and formed it, breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. And you will here thereafter take my life and soul to life everlasting. So long as I have breath, therefore, I will give thanks to you, O eternal my God and God of all ages, master of all creation, ruler of every human spirit. Blessed are you, O eternal, in whose hands are the souls of all the living and the spirit of all flesh. Amen. Page 50. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asek b'divrei Torah. Together. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and has commanded us to engage in words of Torah. Eternal our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, and that we may be your children, may be lovers of your name, and students of your Torah for our own sake. Blessed are you, O eternal, the teacher of Torah to God's people, Israel. Page 51. These are the obligations of whose fruit we eat in this world and whose full reward await us in the world to come. Together? Page 52, we join together with responsive reading. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has implanted mind and instinct within every living being. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has made me Israel. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who's made me free. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has made me into thine image. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who opens the eyes of the blind. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who provides clothes for the naked. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who brings freedom to the captive. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who lifts the fallen. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who makes firm each person's step. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who girds our people Israel with strength. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who crowns our people Israel with glory. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who gives strength to the weary. Amen. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who removes sleep from the eyes and slumber from the eyelids. Amen. Page 55. Blessed is the one who spoke and the world came to be. Blessed is God. Blessed is the source of creation. Blessed is the one who says and does. Blessed is the one who decrees and fulfills. Blessed is the one whose compassion covers the earth and all its creatures. Blessed is the one who pays proper reward to those who revere God. Blessed is the one who lives and endures forever. Blessed is the one who redeems and saves. Blessed be God's name. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, the merciful parent, extolled by words of God's people, praised and glorified by words of pious servants. And with the songs of David, your servant, we praise you, O eternal our God.
With praises and psalms we will magnify you, Lord, glorify and declare your sovereignty, and proclaim your name, our Lord, our God.
The only one, the source of life in the universe.
The sovereign great names praised and glorified to all eternity.
Blessed are you, eternal sovereign, extolled with songs of praise. Page 57. Tov l'Adonai, tov lahodot l'Adonai u'lazemer l'shimcha elyon l'hagiba boker hasdecha v'umonatecha ba'leilot. Page 60, we join together. The righteous shall flourish like palms, grow tall like cedars in Lebanon. Rooted in the house of the Eternal, they shall ever be fresh and green, proclaiming that the Eternal is just, my rock in whom there is no wrong. Page 60, we join together for the translation for Ashrei. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they sing your praise forever.
Happy are the people such blessed results. Happy are those who dwell in the eternal.
A psalm of David. I will exalt you, my sovereign God. I will bless your name forever.
Every day will bless you, I will extol your name forever.
Great is the Eternal and worthy of praise. God's greatness is infinite.
One generation shall proclaim your work, they shall tell of your mighty acts.
They shall consider your radiant glory.
They shall reflect your wondrous works.
They shall speak of your awesome might and make known your greatness.
They shall tell the world of your goodness and sing of your righteousness.
The Eternal is gracious and compassionate, endlessly patient and overflowing with love.
The Eternal is good to all. God's compassion shelters all God's creations.
All your works, O Eternal, shall thank you.
Your faithful shall bless you.
They shall speak of your glory, of your realm, and tell of your strength.
Through your power to the world and the voice of your world.
Your realm is everlasting.
Your dominion endures to all generations.
Eternal, you support the fallen, you raise up all who are bowed down.
The eyes of all turn to you in hope, and sustain them in time of need.
You open your hand to satisfy every living thing with favor.
Eternal, you are just in all your ways, and loving in all your deeds.
The Eternal is near to all who call in truth.
Fulfilling the hope of all who live the divine God, thy word and Christ's sake.
The Eternal guards all who love the divine.
But will destroy those who insist on evil.
My mouth shall speak the praise of the Eternal. Let all flesh bless God's holy name forever and ever.
We will bless the Eternal now and forever. Hallelujah.
Page 65, we join together for the translation for Nishmat Kol Chai. Let every living soul bless your name, O Eternal, our God, and let every human being acclaim your majesty forever and ever. Through all time and space, you are a God. We have no sovereign who redeems and saves, helps and supports, but you. God of all ages, ruler of all creatures, master of all generations, extolled by a magnitude of praises, the one who guides the world with loving kindness, and the creatures with tender mercy. The Eternal neither slumbers nor sleeps, but rather wakes the sleeping and arouses the dormant, gives speech to the silent and releases the bound, and supports the fallen and raises those who are bowed down. To you alone we give thanks. Together. Therefore limbs and spirit and soul and tongue shall join to thank, bless, praise, and extol your name. For every tongue will yet affirm you, and every knee will bend. All the upright shall bow to you, and every heart will revere you. And our innermost being shall sing praises to your name. As it is written, all my bones shall say, Eternal, who is like you. And David sang, bless the Eternal, O my soul, and let all that is within me bless God's holy name. God, you are tremendous in power, great in glory of your name, mighty forever and awesome in your works, the sovereign, supreme, and exalted. Page 67, we join together for Shochenad. God abides forever, and holy is God's name. Therefore let all who are righteous sing God's song, as it is written. Sing the righteous to the Eternal, the upright do well to acclaim the divine.
By the mouths of the upright you shall proclaim, by the words of the righteous you shall be blessed, by the tongues of the wise you shall be sanctified, in the midst of the holy you shall be praised.
and the assembled hosts of your people, the house of Israel, in every generation glorify your name in song.
May your name be praised forever, O sovereign, the great and holy God, ruler in heaven and earth.
Blessed are you, eternal, God and sovereign, exalted in praises, God of thanksgiving, master of wonders, creator of souls who delights in hymns of song, the only ruler, the life of the universe. We rise to the Hatzi Kaddish on page 68. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba V'alma divrah hirotei v'yanich malchutei V'chayeganu v'yoymechonu v'yedechol Beit Yisrael Ba'egala u'bizman kariv Yameru amen Ya'ishmei Rabba mevorach V'yal yamelal me'almaya Yitbarach Yitbarak, v'yishtabak, v'yitbar, v'yitrama, v'yitnasei, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemer kudasha, v'rechu, le'ela mikol brechata v'shirata, tushvechata v'nechemata, damiran mi'alma, yameru, amen. Page 69. Baruchu et Adonai Amevorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed. Page 70. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech oseh shalom uvarei hakol. Together, blessed are you, O eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who forms light and creates darkness, who makes peace and creates all things. With compassion, God gives life to the earth and all who dwell there. With goodness, God renews the work of creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O eternal! In wisdom you've made them all. The earth is full of your creations. As it said, praise the one who makes the great luminaries, for God's love endures forever. Blessed are you, O eternal, who forms the radiant lights. Page 71. You've loved us with a great compassion, eternal our God, with surpassing compassion. You've had compassion upon us, our parent and ruler, for the sake of our ancestors, who trusted in you and whom you taught the ways of life. Bestow grace upon us and teach us. Our parent, the merciful one, who performs acts of kindness, have compassion upon us and instill in our hearts the desire to understand and discern, to hear, learn, and teach, observe, and perform, and fulfill the teachings of your Torah with love. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, and let our hearts cling to your mitzvot. Unite our hearts to love and revere your name, so that we may never be shamed. And because we trusted in your great holy and awesome name, may we be glad and rejoice in your salvation. Bring us in peace from the four corners of the earth, and lead us upright to our land. For you are a God who performs acts of salvation, and you've chosen us from all peoples and tongues, bringing us close to your great name forever in truth, so that we may be able to thank you and proclaim your unity in love. Blessed are you, O eternal, who chooses the people of Israel in love. Page 73. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivoid Ma'ilchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We'll join together for the V'ahavta now on page 74. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'letecha b'derech Ushakvecha ukumecha, ukshartam neot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Leman tizkeru vasitem ekol mitzvotai, veitem kiroshim nelalekhem, ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeti etchem me'aretz Mitzrayim leot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet. Page 76. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful is this eternal teaching.
This truth we hold to be forever certain. Eternal God is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, the shield of our salvation.
God abides through all generations, and God's name is eternal. God's throne stands firm. The divine sovereignty and faithfulness are everlasting.
God's word is living and true and precious to all eternity.
Eternal our God, you redeemed us from Egypt.
You set us free from the house of bondage.
For this your beloved praise you, exalting God in song.
Dear ones offer him song, praise, blessing, thanksgiving, gifts,
High and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and helps the oppressed. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing. Like Moses and Israel, we raise our voices in the joy of redemption, and we sing as one. Mi chaimocha ba'alim Adonai, mi chaimocha nedar b'kodesh, nora teilot osei fele. Shirah harasha shebehu gelim, leshimha asvat hayam, yachad kulam chodi v'chum lihu v'yamru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. We now rise for Sur Yisrael on page 78. Sur Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufteikun omecha Yehuda be'Yisrael, Go aleinu Adonai tzivahot shemo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Gal Yisrael. Page 78, we join together for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai titachu fi agite hilatecha, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imoteinu, Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzhak, Elokei Yaakov, Elokei Sarah, Elokei Rivka, Elokei Rachel, v'Elokei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Toivim, V'Chonei HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Yimachot, U'Mevi Geula Lifnei V'Nechem, L'man Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Uzer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atara V'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Marida Gashem, Marida Tal, Mekakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Soimech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatzir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Givurot, Umidai Melach, Melech Mimith, Oimechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah Hayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol, Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam, Ki Shem Shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatu v'al niviecha, V'kara ze al ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tsevaot, Melo kol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch Kivod Adonai, Min Kamo, Echad, Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, V'Hu Yashmienu, V'Rachamav Shnei L'nei Kol Chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Yichzion, Ledor Vador, Alleluia. Ledor Vador Nagid God Lecha, Ula Netzach Netzachim Kedushacha Nakdish, Veshivacha Lavheinu Mepinu Le'yamush Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We daven until page 88 and join together there for Oseh Shalom. We'll join together now for Oseh Shalom on page 88. Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'yemeru, amen. We'll now join together on page 92 as we begin our Torah service. Ein kamocha ve'elohim Adonai v'ein kema'asecha malchutecha makol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imlach le'olam va'ed Adonai oz li'ama yitem Adonai Yivarech et Emo Shalom. We now rise for Avarachamim on page 93. Avarachamim Heitiv Avirtzonecha et Sion Tivnech Omot Yerushalayim Tivnech Omot Yerushalayim Ki v'cha levad baitzachnu Melech El Ram Vanisa Adon Olamin. Vayehi ben Sawa Ha'aron Ve'yomer Moshe Kuma Adonai Ve'yafutsu Oivecha Ve'yanursu Misanecha Mifanecha Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah Udavar Adonai Mi'Yerushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Li'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadlu Adonai Iti Uromamo Shemo Yachdav. You may close the eye. All right, we'll do that after both. Adonai Hagidula, Ve'Hagibura, Ve'Hatiferet, Ve'Hanetzach, Ve'Chakot, Ki Kol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz, Ki Kol Bashamayim U'Ba'aretz, Adonai Hamamlaka, Ve'Amid Naseh Lechol Erosh. Romimu, Romimu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtakavu, Ve'ishtakavu, Le'adom Raglav Kadoshu, Romimu, Romimu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ve'ishtakavu, Ve'ishtakavu, Lehar Kodsho, Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated. Learning Torah today will be Rabbi Levi. I'd like to invite Rabbi Levi for learning Torah today. And the Aliyah Harishon, who is our first Aliyah today, our Rabbi. Come on, you may come up here. Unless you guys want to both come up here, you can both come up. I need my Gabbai.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Wayne, you're welcome to come on up if you'd like to as well. I mean, you're a welcome guest for today. So our first Aliyah.
Eileen, she's coming up. Everyone knows.
Oh, they're coming. Oh, they're already coming up. Okay, all right. Le Aliyah Harishon. All right, your full Hebrew name. Hayashena. Hayashena Le Aliyah Harishon. Moshe.
Keep an eye on
Randall.
Yeah, please.
Le Aliyah Harishon.
Make sure you stay out of trouble.
When you're not doing
Europe,
it,
yeah.
Hallelujah.
All these conjugations of krivu, krev. I'm gonna need some.
Yours is much later.
I get you.
Okay.
It was an honor. I wanted to say that.
Okay.
Baruch et Adonai Havorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'habanu mikol hamayim natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi b'yom hashmini kara Moshe li'Aaron u'lebanav u'leziknei Yisrael. Vayomer el Aaron kach lecha egel ben bakar lechatat v'ayol li'olat milim והקרב לפני אדוני, ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור, קחו שעיר עזים לחטאת, ויגל וכבש בני שנה תמימים לעולה, ושור בעיל לשלמים, לזבוח לפני אדוני, ומנחה בלולה בשמן, כי היום אדוני נראה עליכם, ויקחו את אשר ציווה משה אל פני אוהל מועד, ויקרבו כל עדה ויעמדו לפני אדוני, ויאמר משה זה הדבר אשר ציווה אדוני תעשו, וירא עליכם כבוד אדוני.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Anyone's following along, we're on page 651, 652 for our Torah reading in our Humashim for our second Aliyah and your full Hebrew name.
Inda
Rivka,
Bat
Pinchas,
Igoli.
Bigoldi. The Aliyah Hasheni.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ויאמר משה אל אהרון קרב אל המזבח ויעשה את חטאתך ואת עולתך וכפר בידך וביד העם ויעשה את קורבן העם וכפר בידם כאשר ציווה אדוני ויקריב אהרון אל המזבח וישחט את עגל החטאת אשר לו ויקריבו בני אהרון את הדם אליו ויטבול אצבעו בדם וייתן על קרנות המזבח ואת הדם יצק על יסוד המזבח ואת החלב ואת הכליות ואת היותרת מן הכבד מן החטאת הקטיר המזבח כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ואת הבשר ואת האור שרף באש מחוץ למחנה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Your Aliyah Hashlishi. The Aliyah Hashlishi, the Hebrew name. Gitaldina. Oh, I knew this. Gitaldina and Bat Gershon, the Rivka. Okay.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et tato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. וישחט את העולה וימציאו בני אהרון אליו את הדם ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב ואת העולה המציאו אליו לנתוחיה ואת הראש ויתר על המזבח וירחץ את הקרב ואת הקריים ויקטר על העולה המזבח ויקרב את קורבנם ויקח את שעיר החטאת אשר לעם ישחטהו ויחטאהו כראשון ויקרב את עולה ויעשה כמשפט.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notal b'tocheinu baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Thanks for keeping an eye on me.
All right. Our Gabai's prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Our Gabai.
Oh, I forgot, where is that?
I have it right here.
Oh, I need the book.
You need the book?
It's bigger.
You can make
What
it bigger.
page is it?
You could make it bigger, but
No, no, let me read
okay.
it.
It's
What
on
page?
page 97.
Okay, wait. There we go. Bless, O God, this congregation, those who lead and serve it, those who contribute to its strength. Bless all who enter the house, that the worship offered within its walls may be worthy of your greatness and your love, that all who seek your presence here may find it, for the joy of community, the gift of diversity, and the vision of harmony, we offer our grateful thanks. Bless our land and all its inhabitants. Prosper us in all our undertaking. Be with those we have chosen to lead us, that they may strive to establish justice and opportunity for all, and labor to bring peace to the family of nations. Bless the household of Israel, wherever they dwell. Be with us here, where we worship you in freedom. And may those who live under oppressive rule, find release and liberty speedily in our day. May your favor rest upon Israel, her land, her people. Protect her against hatred and war. Grant that the promise of her beginning may ripen into fulfillment, bringing comfort to those who seek refuge, light to those who dwell in darkness, new hope to all humanity. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. So I'll be reciting our names from our Misha Berak list. If there are any additional names anyone would like to have added to the list after these names have been read aloud, please add those names to our community after these names have been read aloud. On our Misha Berak list, we have the following names for today. Evan Mitchell Wadika, Tzvia Bat Margalit, Elise Souza, Suzanne Wadika, Rachel Batdina Yosef Ben Elka, Vicky Hyatt Bilnatris, Miriam Mendel Ben Shira, Nachman Ben Malka, Shlomo Le Ben Malka, Alan Lewis, Esther Bat Ruth, Yehuda Ben Joseph, Russ Pineri, Jeffrey Stein, Jeffrey Koffler, Aaron Evers, Claudia Shafter, Courtney Zabidik, Linda Bloom, Elaine Blitz, Linda Wilson, Rhoda Jacobs, Bucky Bunnell, Linda Goteb, Sylvia Stern, Myra Levis, Evie Schneider, Dr. Sharon Anita Wander, Sonia Richmond, Susan Skogernig, Marge Estrin, Yusra Reuven Ben Devorah Alka, Stuart Kaufman, Evan Radowitz, Ellen Thompson, Sharon Berman, Mindel Batya Sura Riva, Yvette Zamos, Asher Ephraim, Michael Berkowitz, Sonia Richmond, Jesse Emma Libros, Eileen Whale, Tom Bunnell, Terry Kane, Hannah Bat Sura Riva, Sharon Beckus. Are there any additional names anyone would like to have added to our Misha Berak list for today?
Betty Prychett,
Betty Prychett,
and Henry Hilton.
Henry Hilton,
Don Brox
Dan Brox,
and Annie Eisner.
Annie Eisner,
Jessica Stein,
Harriet Kunzman,
Althea
Kless,
Collie Goldstein,
Goldstein,
Brooke Goldstein,
Frank Klein,
and Leah Vidality.
Thank you. Okay. It's our custom to rise as the Misha Berak is recited. It may be found at the very back of our Siddureans. Misha Berak Avotenu Mekor Habreka Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor avrecha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. We'll now offer a Mishaberach for the world, and that may be found on page 98. Bless this planet and all things on it. Bless our human family, that we may bind together in peace and understanding, as we're all from the same Creator. Watch over those born at this time, and let the generations of survivors truly bring that world to fruition, as it is written, so that you may be with us in peace, harmony, prosperity, fulfillment, and spirituality. Help our leaders be wise, compassionate, and understanding. God, do not let democracy end. Let us have leadership at every level that respects the humanity of us all. Let our country become a true United States of America. Hashem, let us be able to do for you as you do for us. Baruch Hashem. And let us say, Amen. I'd like to invite up our Magbiya, Hagba the Galila. Is it going to be Wayne today? Yes, thank you. I'm going to make sure I'll be doing the Galila, and you'll be doing Hagba. Please rise as the Torah is being lifted on page 99. V'zot HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael api Adonai b'yad Moshe. You may be seated. I'd like to invite our Haftarah reader for today. Thank you. Haftarah lessons on page 99.
Oh, I didn't really have it.
Oh, it's
The before and after part?
It's right here. It's right.
Oh, it's right here.
Yep. You may read it in English or Hebrew.
English.
The Torah, the Haftarah. What page is Haftarah on? It's on page 667. 667.
667.
Yep.
Blessed are you, O eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has chosen prophets and has taken delight in their words spoken in truth. Blessed are you, eternal, who chooses the Torah and Moses, servant of the divine, and Israel, the godly people, and the prophets of truth and righteousness.
Amen.
Switch glasses.
Okay.
This is tiny. And David again gathers together all the chosen men of Israel. 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baale, Judah, to bring up from thence the ark of God, whereupon is called the name, even the name of the Lord of hosts, that sitteth upon the cherubim. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart and brought it out. This is very hard, I'm sorry, it's so small. Brought it out of the house of Abidad, it out of the house of Abidad, that was in the hill, and Uzzah and Ahio and sons of Abidad drove the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was in the hill, which the ark of God and Ahio, I don't know how you say it, went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord with all manner of instruments made of cypress wood, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with harps, oh, I just skipped something, and timbrels, and with sistra, and with cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nachon, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God, and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error. And there he died on the ark of God. And David was displeased, because the Lord had broken forth upon Uzzah, and that place was called Perez Uzzah unto this day. And David was afraid of the Lord that day, and he said, How shall the ark of the Lord come unto me? So David would not remove the ark of the Lord unto him into the city of David, but David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom in the Gittite. And the ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his house. I think that's going to be enough. Okay. Blessed are you, O eternal our God, ruler of the universe, rock of all worlds, righteous for all generations, the faithful God who says and does, speaks and fulfills, all whose words are truth and righteousness, for the Torah and for worship and for the prophets and for this Sabbath day that you have given us, eternal our God, for holiness and rest, for honor and splendor, for everything do we thank and bless you, eternal our God. May your name be blessed by the mouths of all who live continually forever and ever. Blessed are you, eternal, who sanctifies the Sabbath.
Amen. Thank you much. All right. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. So as we know, we have upcoming Yom HaShoah, and we had a very special speaker that came last night, Amy Simon. So Amy Simon presented something, and I'm going to be sharing it with everyone in just a moment, but as a brief introduction of Amy Simon. Amy Simon holds the William and Audrey Farber Family Chair in Holocaust and Genocide Studies of European Jewish History at Michigan State University. Her work on Holocaust fiction, memoir, diaries, and pedagogy has appeared in Holocaust Studies, a Journal of Culture and History, Jewish Historical Studies, and the Journal of Jewish Identities, as well as several edited volumes. Her book, Emotions in Yiddish Ghettos and Diaries, Encountering Persecutors and Questioning Humanity, is forthcoming in June 2023. So, with that, I'll be introducing now our guest from yesterday, Amy Simon. Online attendees as well will be able to tune in. 1 second. Should be back on. It's back on. All right. And when would you like me to hold the Torah?
Are you sure?
Okay. You'll still be able to hear them. All right, Amy, can you hear me? Okay, so I've already.
Thank you for having me, if only virtually. It's a very busy time of the semester. We have 2 weeks left of class, and so everything is winding up. And we had our Jewish Studies undergraduate research conference today, getting to hear from our amazing students. So just a lot going on at Michigan State. So I'm glad to be able to join over Zoom. I'm glad that we have this technology. We all, you know, the one of only very few good things to come from COVID is at least the ability to connect a little bit better in our world. So I'm very glad to see you all, and I'm very glad to be here on the occasion of the Shabbat before Yom HaShoah. As the rabbi mentioned, I imagine I'm the endowed chair in Holocaust Studies and European Jewish History at Michigan State University, and since I was a junior in college, it has been my mission to educate about the Holocaust, first through working at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., and then now, of course, as a professor at Michigan State. And so, you know, not only educating about the Holocaust in terms of teaching classes and speaking to audiences like you, but of course also researching and publishing in my particular area of expertise and interest, which is Holocaust diaries. So that's what I'll talk about now for the amount of time that we have slated for us is the work that I've been doing over the last 15 years with Holocaust Diaries, which will be published in a book, my very first book, on June 16th. So I'm very excited about this after very many years of blood, sweat, and tears on the project. And the title of the book, as I'm sure you heard, is Emotions in Yiddish Ghetto Diaries, Encountering Persecutors and Questioning Humanity. And so my interest really was in, and has always been, not just in the basic questions of Holocaust history that people, you know, most people ask, most students ask, how could it happen? Why did it happen? What does it mean that it happened? What was the process of genocide? You know, how did good people participate in such a horrible crime? You know, those kinds of questions. I've always been much more interested as a Jewish person in the Jewish experience, right? And understanding what was it really like? And of course, we can never get to what it was like if we weren't there. And I am glad that I wasn't there. My family does not have a direct link to the Holocaust, for which I'm actually quite grateful. But that to me is the essential kind of humanity of what it means to learn about the Holocaust and think about the Holocaust. To really understand it, you have to know something, not just about like bureaucratic processes and laws and how things developed, but the people and the experiences that they had on a regular basis, a day-to-day basis, right? It wasn't just that one day everybody, was sent into concentration camps, but rather there were years and years of persecution, all of which impacted people, even in the lead up to that. And in fact, many people, and the diarists that I'm going to speak about, many of the people that died in the Holocaust, of course, never made it to a concentration camp, right? They were killed along the way in so many other forms of persecution and murder. And so I was really interested, right, to get away from just the quintessential kind of Holocaust experience that's in camps, which of course I also study and I teach and is such an important part of Holocaust history. But what I was really interested in for my research to delve deeper into was kind of daily suffering. And for me, the venue for that that was kind of the most interesting were the ghettos. And so the reason I thought about looking at ghettos in particular for deeper research is that I see this as kind of like this gray area in between, of course, the freedom of pre-war life and people just living their lives, and then of course the ultimate constriction and just complete complete restriction of freedom in the concentration camps. And this kind of period, and it's not just a period, because, right, for some people, they're in ghettos for a few months, for other people, they're in ghettos for a few years. People are in ghettos and then, are in camps. So there's a lot going on over the historical period, but the ghettos themselves functioned, as I'm sure many of you know, as these kind of Jewish communities, right? They were forced, they were enforced Jewish communities, forced into being by the Nazis, who were trying to isolate Jews and make sure that they were, couldn't be united with non-Jews in order to resist, and making sure that they suffered from early on based on Nazi ideology that posed Jews as like this dangerous threat to Germandom. And so, they isolated Jews, but for the most part, in most of the ghettos, as long as Jews were not doing things that were openly not allowed, like resisting or, trying to get, information out to the world, or, stealing and, try to escape, obviously, those kinds of things, as long as they were kind of doing what the Nazis expected them to do, which was to kind of live peacefully in the ghettos, suffer, obviously, through poor food hygiene in the ghettos, but generally to do what was expected of them, they had a fair amount of freedom, actually, right? Just in terms of a daily experience. They had to work, but there weren't, watchtowers everywhere. In fact, Germans didn't like going to the ghettos because they were filled with disease and, terrible hygiene. Of course, it was enforced by the conditions put upon them and the lack of resources that the Nazis, didn't allow in. But in any case, it was not a pleasant place to be, and most Nazis, in fact, didn't like being there at all. So, as we know, they relied on Jewish councils, they relied on Jewish police, other Jewish organizations, right? These were basically small cities in the larger ghettos. They're also really small ghettos that didn't have any of this structure. But in the larger ghettos, right, there were Jewish, mountain, and there were teachers, there were schools, there were theaters, there were musical performances, there were libraries, and of course there was labor in all of the ghettos. So we have some amount of freedom there, and of course what we see as a result of that is an enormous amount of creative output, including diaries. And so people had some space to be able to write their stories, although it was difficult and they were, undergoing such horrible conditions, but there was an amount of space. So I thought these ghettos are really this interesting kind of liminal space between, freedom and not freedom. And so I started investigating ghettos. I ended up deciding to focus specifically on the Warsaw Ghetto, the Lodz Ghetto, and the Vilna Ghetto. A lot of this was practical because there's not a lot of surviving archival material from smaller ghettos. Not surprisingly, larger ghettos, there's more surviving documents, and so I kind of did that, but also saw some really interesting comparisons amongst the three ghettos. So that's kind of how I focused in. And so the question, like I said, was the question I came with was, we know so much, like I just said, about how the ghettos function, why they were created, and the kind of bureaucratic makeup of it, both from the Nazi side and the Jewish side, the Poles, right, the Lithuanians. We know a lot about what happened, but none of the research that I've ever seen, and that still stands to today, has looked at the ways that Jewish victims living in these ghettos with some amount of agency to sit and write their stories, and sometimes to rescue their stories. Nobody ever has looked at how they thought and felt about perpetrators. And to me, this actually, the more I've thought about it over the years, the more it actually seems like almost another form of perpetration, because to assume that, the Nazis are the Nazis and Jews are just the victims, which I think is what's at the core of that, takes away so much of the agency that people actually had when they were writing, right? They didn't have agency necessarily to change things in their lives, right? The diarists I research, almost every one of them died in the ghetto or at the end of the ghetto. A few were deported to camps, but they couldn't change their fate, of course. But the fact they sat there and they wrote day after day after day these emotional, rich, thoughtful diaries, not only recounting what was going on, but really questioning who are these perpetrators, right? Who are these Germans that are doing these things to us? Why are they doing them? Questioning, like, what does it mean that the Germans are doing this? Or what does it mean that we have a Jewish police and a Jewish council that are participating, right? What does that mean for our community? What does it mean for us? What does it mean for me personally? And so to me, that was just a really important part that I thought it still surprised me that nobody's really investigated. So that's what I did. I investigated what did Jewish people living in these ghettos have to say in their diaries about perpetrators. And what I found pretty early on, I researched around the world. I researched at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. I researched at the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research in New York City. I researched in Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, also the Ghetto Fighters House in Western Galilee. And I visited, although I didn't need the documents there because they had copies at the Holocaust Museum in DC, but the Ringelblum Jewish Historical Institute in Warsaw. So I went around and tried to find every single diary written in Yiddish, which is my research language, and of course the Mamaloshon, the mother tongue of the Jews that were living in these ghettos by and large. Even those who spoke Polish, which were many of them, also spoke Yiddish as their mother tongue. So I found every diary I could possibly find from these ghettos, and I found about 40 or 50 Yiddish diaries that ended up surviving. So we know that there were thousands probably of diaries that were written, even in Yiddish, even in these ghettos. There are of course other diaries that have been published that are written in different languages or from different ghettos. Camps, even concentration camps, diary writing during the Holocaust is much bigger than this study. But my group was about 30 to 40 Yiddish diaries, everywhere from 1 page to 200, 300 pages long, depending on how much survived. Most of the diaries we have are not complete in that, and we'll talk about rescue in a few minutes, but in that it was very difficult for people to rescue their diaries, especially as we know, because most of them did not survive. So yes, we have partial diaries for partial periods of time. And I chose diaries because they are two main reasons. One, they're daily, right? So again, not everybody writes every day, but they are at least contemporary with what's going on. So people are writing very close to the experiences that they have, which at least kind of, there's always construction, right? People have to choose, I'm going to write about this today or that today, and they leave some things out and put some things in. But they are, because they're so close to the events, they're at least kind of a raw reaction to what's going on, as opposed to something, a memoir, so let's say written 60 years later, it's going to have a different perspective. And then second, so because they're daily, they're fresher, and they also demonstrate, and this is important, change over time, right? How do they respond to things as they're happening? And that's just not recoverable in any other kind of source. And then the other reason is because, of course, they're in some ways the most intimate of sources. So the diaries that I have used and that I found many are like a personal diary that anybody would write. They just happen to, of course, be about this particular experiences of this particular time and place. But other people wrote very clearly because they, witnessed what was going on around as this massive historical rupture. And so I'll give one quote from Herman Crook, who's one of the diarists I looked at a lot, and I will say a little bit about him in a moment. But so Herman Crook was a man who was a writer, a librarian who was living in Warsaw. And at the start of the war, he escaped the Nazi onslaught in Warsaw by fleeing to Vilna. And he went to Vilna, which was occupied by the Soviet Union and therefore not under Nazi control yet, not until 1941. And so he began writing pretty much right away. And we have his diary from 1939 until 1944. Herman Krug was chief librarian in the Vilna Ghetto and part of the underground movement, both the partisan movement helping to gather arms for a potential uprising, but also part of the the so-called paper brigade. And there's a recent book out that's amazing by David Fishman that talks about the rescue that these Jewish intellectuals in the Vilna Ghetto did for Jewish texts and documents that they tried to rescue from the ghetto from the Nazis. Anyways, that's Herman Krug, and you can see, no, you can't see, I'm looking at my slideshow, but you don't have it. So yes, he was born in 1897, but he died in 1944. So his is one of these most tragic stories in which he, the day before the, so he was deported at the end of the Holocaust, at the end of the Vilna Ghetto in August of 1944. Anybody who was surviving, which was a very small number of the original 70,000 Jews in Vilna, was sent to labor camps in Estonia. So he was in Kluga labor camp in Estonia, and the Soviet Union, the Soviets were coming to liberate the Jewish camps in 1944, and but they decided, the Nazis decided the last minute to line everybody up for murder, right, to line up the remaining Jews and to kill them, and so Krug was amongst these Jews, and he had written this diary, thousands of pages, right, throughout almost every single day for 5 years. And he had already sent parts of it out of the ghetto. He had friends outside the ghetto, non-Jewish friends who took some of it. He was part of Evo, so he had sent some of his papers through, friends to New York already. So parts of his diary already survived, but he had been writing still in the Kluga camp as well. And so what he did is he's like in this huge line where they're just doing shooting, and he met up with 6 of his friends, and he gathered them and buried the diary, and he said, if anybody should survive, please uncover my diary. And sure enough, one of his friends managed to survive the last of the shootings and was able to go back and recover the diary. So Krug did not survive, but his thousands of pages of diary did. It is available in English translation, and it's really quite a remarkable text. But Krug, for example, was writing a diary that was less personal, although of course personal things come in all the time. But he also wrote to keep a witness of what was going on. So he says early in the diary, quote, "I make a firm decision. I leave myself to the mercy of God. I'm staying. And right away, I make another decision. If I'm staying anyway, and if I'm going to be a victim of fascism, I shall take pen in hand and write a chronicle of a city. My chronicle must see, must hear, and must become the mirror and the consonance of the great catastrophe and of the hard times. I have decided to write a chronicle of the events at Vilna." So you can get a sense just from his story and from the fact that there were thousands of people writing how important it was for people to keep the witness and to keep the story alive, knowing that they would likely not survive, and yet they wanted people to know what had happened to them in the ghettos. And so in my research, I see this as kind of a moral imperative to continue reading, to continue trying to understand their experiences, for me through the lens of a historian, but also bringing these experiences to audiences like yourself, people that are interested in understanding a little bit about the felt experience of daily life. And so what I generally found in these diaries is that the way that people really understand perpetration and perpetrators during the Holocaust is missing a lot by not having the Jewish reaction to it. And what the Jewish reaction has shown me, and what the book argues, is that suffering in the ghettos was caused mostly not by the final solution, which didn't exist for most of ghetto life because it wasn't determined really until 1942, but also it's hard to get information, right? There's a lot they didn't know. So the suffering was caused, yes, by the general program of persecution, but specifically from all kinds of hundreds of different daily events and daily persecutions that they experienced. So my book brings out these different types of persecutions to give an idea of what daily life felt like. And so I kind of reorganized the idea of perpetration. Right? It wasn't just, being starved and then being sent to a camp, but rather all kinds of mundane things that you wouldn't think of. People that just took advantage for the situation, Poles, Lithuanians, but also Jews, not even necessarily Jewish council members, but just people in the ghettos who were who organized all kinds of programs to take advantage. Persecution that happened at the administrative level, again, even within the camps. An enormous amount of robbing by locals, by Germans, guarding, right? There were whole groups of Polish, Ukrainian, Lithuanian, Jewish, and German guards that worked together at the gates of the ghettos. And this was a really important spot of terror in the ghettos. And then, of course, the more physical things, beatings that took place regularly, carried out by Nazis, and then eventually rounding up, which was a participatory event between Lithuanians, Ukrainians, Germans, and of course Jewish police, and then of course ultimately killing. And so what I try to get at is the totality of this experience, which was a lot more complex than maybe we typically think about. And finally, the thing that came out more and more as I was researching and writing, is that when these diarists were writing about perpetrators, like I said at the start, they were very worried about their own humanity. And what I see is that as they wrote about all kinds of perpetrators, right? And it wasn't just the Germans, it wasn't just the Lithuanian collaborators, and it wasn't just Jewish councils or police, but it was all of these people at different times when they saw these people carrying out all this persecution, and when they witnessed it or when they experienced it, they tried everything they could to separate themselves out and to demonstrate in their writings, just for themselves, right? Or for us, if you're writing a chronicle like Crook, how they were maintaining their humanity in the face of the perceived inhumanity of perpetrators. And this was a constant in and out of their diaries, constant grappling with this question of, are we still human, even though we're experiencing this kind of persecution? And how can we separate ourselves, maintaining our humanity, when there are so many perpetrators around us? And so I will leave with just one short quote from from Abraham Levin, which I found enormously powerful, part of how I end my book. And he says, so he's in the Warsaw Ghetto, and he wrote this in 1941, so this is even before most of the deportations out of the ghetto to Treblinka, just regarding about a year and a half of ghetto life. He says, quote, "We live in a prison. We have been degraded to the level of homeless and uncared for animals. When we look at the swollen, half-naked bodies of Jews lying in the streets, we feel as if we find ourselves at some subhuman level. Yet, we wish to live on, to continue as free and creative men. This will be our test. If, under the thick layer of ashes, our life is not extinguished, this will prove a triumph of the human over the inhuman, and that our will to live is mightier than the will to destruction, that we are capable of overcoming all evil forces which attempt to engulf us." And so, though he's talking about physical survival here and elsewhere, he also means spiritual survival, the spiritual ability to maintain humanity in the face of this persecution. And I argue that through these diaries, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And so reading the diaries really gives their voices the agency that they were trying to, right? They were trying to demonstrate their own humanity, and we have to pay attention to it, to read it, in order to understand really some of the truths of Jewish experience in the ghettos during the Holocaust. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay. So that was Amy Simon came to speak yesterday. As many of you know, we have an upcoming event. It's going to be at the library on Yom HaShoah. I'll be speaking for that event. Please, if you, well, there are no, unfortunately, any more tickets available. However, we're going to see if we can have it filmed and send out a link to that so that if you do not have tickets, you may join us for the either for the live stream or the subsequent film session. All right, so we're now going to turn to page 102 of our Sidurims. Page 102 of our Sidurims as we rise and we'll sing together Hallelujah Shem Adonai. Please rise. Okay. Hallelujah Shem Adonai Ki Nizgav Shemo Livodo Hodo Al Eretz V'Shamayim V'Yarem Keren V'Yamo Tehila L'Kol Hasidav L'Bnei Yisrael Am Krovo Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Page 102 and page 103 will join together for the responsive readings. Is anyone going to be joining us for opening up the Ark this time?
Yes, we are.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yep, okay. You want to get both? Alright. Alright. The Torah of the Eternal is perfect, reviving the soul. The precepts of the Eternal are right, delighting the mind. The word of the Eternal is pure, enduring forever. Behold, a good doctrine has been given to you. My Torah, do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and do all support it. Find happiness, and its ways are of pleasantness, and all of its paths are to peace. Page 103. Eitz hayim hi lemakazikim bach v'tom checha meushar dirakecha darkei noam v'kol netzivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha b'nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yameinu Kadesh Yameinu Kikedet. Perfect, that's perfect. Thank you. Remain standing for the Aleinu now on page 103 of our Sidurims. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'teit gedula liyotzeh breshit shelo atzanu kigia aratzot velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama shelo sam kelkinu kechem v'gor aleinu kikol hamonam V'anachnu korim u'mishtakavim u'modim Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu netei shamayim ve'yosir haaretz U'moshev yekaro b'shamayim mima'al U'shchinatu zo B'govei meroimim Hu Eloheinu ein od Emet malkeinu efezulato Kakatu b'torato V'yadata hayom V'hoshevota ala bebecha Ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim B'shamayim mima'al V'yal ha'aretz mitachad ein od. Page 106. We therefore open you, O eternal our God, soon to behold the splendor of your might. Then will false gods vanish from the earth, and the idols will be utterly cut off, to yield the world to the sovereignty of the Almighty. Then will all acclaim you as their God, and forsaking evil turn to you alone. Let all who dwell on earth acknowledge that unto you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, O eternal our God, let them humble themselves. To your glorious name let them give honor. Let all accept the yoke of your dominion, that you may rule over them soon and forever. For the dominion is yours, and you will rule in glory, as it is written, the eternal will reign forever and ever. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. You may be seated. In just a moment, I'll be reciting names who have recently passed from our community, as well as members who are on our Yortzeit list. If there are any additional names anyone would like to have added to those names of lists that are read aloud, please share with us those names of your loved one after the names have been read aloud, so that at least one community may pray for the elevation of their neshama to Shemayim above. Recently passed from our community are the following names: Peter Lizama, Stan Perlman, David Schneider, Raphael Marcus, Florence Schneider, Sylvia Tenenbaum, Florence Guttmacher, Philip Moret, Bruce Fleischig, Eleanor Harris. Our Yortzeit list continues with the following names: Ruth Schneider, Eugene Curlin, Mary Tuman, Henry Appelman, Francis Offenberg, Manuel Steinlaw, Celia Scheff, Ruben Stumacher, Anna Jacobs, Elliot Drobin, Sam Rothman, Ellie Kaufman, Louis Bolstein, Louis Peck, Francis Stovak, Sidney Richmond, Daniel Peller. Are there any additional names anyone is observing a Yortzeit for or in the period of Shloshim for today? Stephen Finkel.
Carl Schultz and Erwin Klugerman.
Erwin Klugerman and
Carl Schultz.
Thank you. Lee Benner. Are there any additional names anyone is observing a Yortzeit for here today or in the period of Shloshim? Okay. The words for the Mourner's Kaddish may be found on page 107. If it is your custom, please rise for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 107. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'ayilma tivrach yudutei v'yamnech malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yonechon u'chayedecho beit Yisrael v'agyala v'zman karid v'imru amen Yahei shmei rabbah nevorach le'olam olamei almaya Yishbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnasei v'yitzadar v'yitzadeh v'yitzalal shemei v'kudishah b'reichu La'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran mi'alma v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alinu v'yalkol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom v'ramat u'ya'aseh shalom alinu v'yalkol Yisrael v'imru amen. And the memories for all those that we hold near and dear in our hearts remain with us forever, and let us say, Amen. Amen. You may be seated. Now I have the opportunity for some short but brief and uplifting announcements. Evie?
Yeah.
Take it away. You have them on the phone today.
I did.
We also have them written down, but if you have them on your phone, that's just better.
I'm just reading it from
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
what you sent out Friday night.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm happy to say that Mama Dean is back, starting this Monday
Monday, yep.
at 12 o'clock. Bring your lunch or coffee or whatever you want to have with you. And then we'll have some good discussions, I hope.
Yep.
He's saying yes.
Yes, we will.
Means yes. And on Operations Wedding is Sunday the 30th, and that will be also at the library. It's the documentary that we saw here, and we're showing again for the public and for those of us who want to see it again. And we will again have, what's his name?
Israel Zalmanson.
Israel
Zalmanson.
He was here last time. He is one of the survivors from that wedding fiasco, and he'll be here to talk to us. He was very moving last time. And then the Mother's Day coffee sale. So you could have coffee sent to whoever you care to send it to, from either Dunkin' Donuts or, see, when I don't read, then I want to read, I can't find it. Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, that's what it is. And the temple will get back $1 for each donation that you make. And that's all I have on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to mention that 2 weeks from today,
Uh-huh.
we're having the kiddish after services to get together and spend some time. Will please anyone who could make it 2
Yeah.
weeks after today.
Thank you. Any other announcements anyone's aware of? Okay. Please come though for Operation Wedding. It's going to be really nice. I know that. And also make sure you try to get those reservations done early. But as we found out with this most recent event, there is a cap for reservations. So try to get in early. Don't put it off. A lot of people have been calling in trying to get in reservations to see the Yom HaShoah observance that's going to be happening at the library. And unfortunately, we've been out of tickets for about 2 weeks now. So if you can still call in for the library for reservations for Operation Wedding before it becomes too late. All right. So now we're going to turn to page 108 of our Sidurims, page 108 for Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kimalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Keloheinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kimalkeinu, Mi Kamoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Elokeinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Do we have anyone who